We are coming off a tough homecoming loss, unbelievable crowd, and disappointed with the outcome. The kids fought hard for 4 quarters. We've got to, continue to pound away at details and got to make some plays at the end. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing. A lot of things, but some things that keep coming up. The missed field goal, the extra point. Tough when it's a tight ball game. Those things did not come into play against Akron. They come into play against a good Central Michigan team. But coming out of this game, we've got a couple things we got to get cleaned up as far as personnel. Michael Valentine's going to be out. Looks like we'll find out later this week. He's been a bright spot. Will Evans continues to be a bright spot on defensive line. Treat Greg in the back end. I think since the Lafayette game, you've seen a lot of Tariq, a lot of Michael. They've done some really good things that has given the defense a boost. So we'll have to see how that injury goes with him. And then Armani obviously did some really good things. I know we talked about that post game, and after watching the film, I think he's taken a step. With this last game. So moving ahead to Buffalo, seasoned quarterback, and Kyle Antrese, we played against him a couple of years now. He's been in the league. This might be going when we recruited him out of high school. He's been in the league 4 or 5 years now. I lost track, but I know he's got a lot of game experience. They got a pretty good veteran guys up front. They're big, good strong running game. Transfer from receiver from Eastern Michigan. Guy that we recruited out of high school, has had some good games. I think he had over 100 yards receiving against maybe Western Michigan, I believe. And then defensively, a couple of guys in the front seven, the middle linebacker, Patterson, 2D lineman, 49 is a guy that they've had for a long time. Plays defensive end and an inside guy. Wallow inside that remind me of the 2 guys that Central had last week. So it should be a great MAC East game. I know I said this after post game that hey, it's going to be 4 quarters, and who executes and does the things, the details, and makes a few plays in the 4th quarter.
Coach, obviously, like you had mentioned before, the game against Central Michigan didn't go. Kind of came down to like a couple small mistakes that just kind of cost you guys the game, even though you guys kept it close as much as you could. Is it kind of a consolation for you guys that your staff and your guys that it's only a couple small things that are keeping you guys from getting those wins?
I think sure. I'm going to be last half full. We are challenging our guys to understand that every play is going to be important. I felt like that in the 4th quarter, it was some of the 50-50 balls they were able to make. You'd like to have for us to make a couple of those 50-50 balls. Tight man coverage. Peter, the one down our sideline was an unbelievable catch. You could not cover the guy any better. When Dill was coming and Peter had him locked down, the guy just made a play. You'd just like for us to make a couple of those, and I think it's a different ball game. Every close game, and on any game on TV, is going to come down to some plays like that. The obvious things. For us, the missed extra point was disappointing. It was an unbelievable hold. First of all, when somebody say that, the ball was kind of low and kind of back, and we got the ball down, and I expect Steven's got to make that kick. He's got to make that extra point. We did make a change at the long snapper position after the missed extra point. Adam, since we have gone to 2 different guys, one guy, Adam's been handling the our punting long snapping. We put Adam in there, and he delivered 2 times. So we're going to continue to try to get the kicking problems fixed up. Back to the course of a game and to taking positives, we're going to do that, but we're obviously as a staff going to continue to work on personnel and getting our best 11 and moving forward to win the close game in our league.
You mentioned that there were so many catches and throws that were made against Central Michigan. You said you could have defended better, and just how do you respond to plays that you can't play better against? Do you have to make adjustments to somehow do better, even though there was perfect coverage, or is it a matter of responding after play happens?
Yeah, as a corner especially, a guy makes a play like that, you got to have a short memory. You give up a play, and you got to the next one. We challenge our guys all through fall camp on what happens, whether it's a good play or a guy makes a play on you. You got to go on to the next one. You got to have a short memory. As far as doing things different schematically, I think in the first half, 88th, their receivers really good. We had to know where he's at all the time. I think they were giving us problems with the running game in the first half, and we started playing with more man coverage, which we had not done did very little man coverage versus Akron, and our front seven was able to hold up, and kind of containing the run. They had some run. They got some runs in there, but our D-line was good enough and strong enough to handle the running game and kind of make them one-dimensional. Then when we got scoring some points in the second half, they did become one-dimensional. From that standpoint, Coach Collins and his staff adjusted in the second half, started playing some more man to get an extra guy in the hat. Okay, so we slowed the running game down, but they were matched up, and they took some shots, and they did, they completed, I don't know, 50% maybe of their balls. I can't, something like that. But they just the matchups. The last one was we were manned up. You take that one away, but their best receivers just has an okay day. But he delivered. And so, what do you do different? We're going to play aggressive back there. We're going to play man coverage. We're going to have a pass interference from time to time. You just can't have you can't have like 4 of them like we did versus Duquesne. So we're going to be aggressive back there, and then the change up with the safety. I think to help the corners, and then we got to be able to stop the run to get those things done.
Moving on a bit to Buffalo, obviously there's no Jared Patterson this year since he got drafted by Washington, but their running core still retains a lot of their guys. After containing a bit of Lou Nichols in the second half last Saturday, how do you kind of spring forward to kind of lock down another very strong running core?
Yeah, I think that's been like you mentioned last year in their running game. I think that's their identity. The guys up front, they've played, I think, 3 different running backs. I think that Mark's kid is listed as a starter. But they've all 3 got carries, and they're all three talented. I look at their running back core as I do ours. We're a run first team. We're not balanced. You look at the numbers. But I compare their style and identity like I do ours. And you've got now, and with Jake Netherton in the game, CA, Demontre, O'Shawn, you got 4 guys that have carried the ball for our football team. So I think there's similarities. Yes, we're going to have to find a way to run the ball. We're going to have to find a way to stop the run, and then be sound in the kicking game. I know that's an old coach cliche, but just the matchup with us in Buffalo, what they do in offense, what we do on offense, I think it's going to be a team that finds a way to run the ball. Just watching the tape and with their identity, I think that's going to be a key as far as stopping and running the ball.
And kind of going off that, like you said, CA, first college carry, 40 yards, touchdown, very good note to start off of. And then, like you said, Jake Netherton's been getting more time. Then you have obviously Demontre and O'Shawn. Does that kind of bolster your confidence a little bit against, Buffalo allowed 226 yards against Kent State last week. Does that kind of bolster your confidence? You can rely on a very deep running core that's been deep since before the season even started.
Yes, I think I said it maybe in Detroit. There might be just a one running back that in the league that's just dynamic. But as far as the depth, I take our guys, our running back room against anybody as far as the depth. I talked a little bit about CA post game. Again, I think he played 3 or 4 snaps. You're going to continue to see him. We are anticipating him playing. O'Shawn did leave the game in Akron with an injury. He did not practice for a couple of days. He was limited reps going into the game. We knew his rep count would be down for Central because of that. He was ready to play. Felt good in pregame. And again, he was in a non-contact jersey leading up to the game, but he's a seasoned guy when he started every game for us in 2019, so that wasn't that big a deal. But getting Jake in is, I think, huge. We're going to continue to build off of those guys that you mentioned. In the running game, try to have some things for all those guys. Because I think they're talented, can help us move the ball, get first downs, and hopefully get some more points on the board.
I need to remind you, this Tariq Drake, he had quite a day against Central. I guess talk about his role in just growing over the course of his career and stepping into that starting role this season.
He's, as I mentioned, along with Will Evans, and Michael, he's done some really, really good things. He's got great range. I think that's where his strengths are. He'll come up and tackle you too, but he's got really, really good range. He'd be a heck of a center fielder. He's a track. He ran track in high school. Got really, really good speed. Does a good job with his hips. I think he had 2 interceptions that were close to having 3. The quarterback did a good job of looking him off, and he's able to close a lot of ground to break on those balls. So I'm very excited about his play, and he's a little dinged up. It's a physical game. That running back at Central he's a big guy, And the guys we were game tackling him, We got some bumps and bruises we'll have to get over. But I think back to Tariq, I think he is getting better each week, and I'm very excited about where he's at as a player.
Kind of touching on Buffalo's defense, going off that. There's the other Patterson brother, James Patterson, all-MAC first team, linebacker. How kind of came as a package deal. How do you, going into this game, very strong defense for Buffalo, but how do you kind of prepare the guys for this? You've got a very solid offensive line. How do you guys prepare for them?
I think it will be, they're similar as far as being 4 down and Central. Buffalo and Central are similar in their nickel package, I would say. Okay, they've got when we go 12 personnel, they've got a little bit different personnel on the field. But when they're in their nickel package on defense, they're similar to Central. So there'll be a lot of similarities for our guys up front. There's going to be some good carryover going into the Buffalo game. You mentioned the Patterson kid, those two guys I mentioned earlier in the front, the 90 and 49, I believe, are talented. Central was very difficult because, Akron, we were able we just dominated so much up front, we just were able to run the ball. Central, we had to, it was, the running game was good. It wasn't great like Akron, but because Central's front 7 were really, really strong. We had trouble denting it at times. We had to kind of make some plays in the throwing game, and we're able to do that. We need to build off that, call those plays a little bit more. I think Buffalo's, again, the similarities with those 2 D linemen. We're going to have to keep them off balance, better than what we did versus Central. And for us to do that, Armani and/or Curtis, we're going to have to complete some balls. That's how you keep defenses off balance, and not be one-dimensional. There were a couple times, we had some second longs that we were in a tough spot. As an offense, we need really a lot of pressure. if you take a shot and you don't hit it, you're second and long. You know, you get, you second and 12. Those are tough for us to overcome. With a front seven like we saw against Central, and Buffalo's similar, so we're gonna have to really do a good job staff-wise on staying ahead of the chains, you know, and not behind them, because they can get to the quarterback with a pass rush for sure.
Maurice Linguist, he's a fellow first-year coach in the MAC. What can you say about dueling a coach that you haven't faced before, and who's also been all over both the college and the NFL world for a little bit?
Yeah, I know that it came from Michigan State. Obviously, I think he was at Buffalo, you know, in my time here, as an assistant. If I read the bio correctly, got a chance to meet him in Detroit, and seems like a real good guy. I think he's done a good job. They just like all MAC schools, they played a very challenging non-conference schedule. Played a heck of a game against Coastal. You know, they were undefeated and ranked. You know, and played those guys. Played them. I think the closest game they'd had all year, maybe. If I can remember the scores, it was a 3-point game maybe. Buffalo and Coastal, maybe a touchdown. But I think Coastal's pretty much handled everybody they played at this point. You know, and so I think he's done a good job. And just like myself, he's familiar with our conference, particularly the MAC East, and he's been there before, and you know, he's been, I don't know, he was hired, I don't know, a couple months before me. I know it was after spring ball, which it's kind of different how it unfolded, if I remember correctly. So there's some similarities between he and I.
Well, kind of, you know, incoming expected question, but you know, obviously you said after the post game, you know, the quarterback snaps really are given to the guy with the hot hand, and you know, Armani's obviously had a very hot hand over the past 2 games. Do you think Armani might be able to get started against Buffalo, or do you think it's time Curtis might get to get Curtis back in the game?
Yeah, I think right now Armani deserves a start. You know, we're going to evaluate practice. You know, I think I said in post game, you're going to see both of them. I think both of them give us our best chance to win. But I also said, I mean, like you said, the hot hand. You know, who's being productive. I mean, Armani was getting things done. We were productive, producing points, and it's completing balls, and we're getting first downs. And so we went with a hot hand. You know, it's kind of like what we've done with running back. You know, who gets hot, and you know, DeMontre's been hot before. O'Shawn's been hot before. You know, AJ Ouellette's been hot before. You know, just in my time here. And so that's kind of where it sits right now. But in practice, we're gonna get the reps to the guys that, you know, to strengthen their game and have them both ready to play in the course of the game, and we'll see how the production goes.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.